Hey everybody, Chris Golick from the Hockey News here, and today Paul Zickler from Upper Deck joins us to discuss National Hockey Card Day, how Upper Deck plans a year's worth of releases, and so much more. Hello again, Chris Golick and Paul Zickler here talking Upper Deck hockey, National Hockey Card Day, and so much more. And I guess before we dive in, Paul, just take a second, say hello, and introduce yourself.
Hey, pleasure. Thanks for having me, Chris. Obviously a big supporter of the Hockey News, and we just appreciate you spreading the word, the love for Upper Deck and trading cards and all things hockey. It's been quite a year, to be honest, and an exciting finish to the year as well with Ovi and a number of big chases for wild card matches. But I've been with UD for 7 years. The professional title is Director of Sports Brands. So, I keep, a close eye on the calendar, make sure our products are getting out the door and manage all of the big licensor relationships. So specifically on the hockey side, the NHL, the NHLPA, the alumni, CHL, Hockey Canada, PWHL, it's on and on. So lots going on, and it's an exciting time to be an Upper Deck hockey card collector and a hockey fan in general.
You said 7 years. Have you been in this same role all 7 years? How did you start with Upper Deck?
I actually started with Upper Deck about, it's actually more than a decade ago. I was an intern. I'm from Vancouver, Canada. Originally, I came down to San Diego for grad school, and I got an internship with Upper Deck and working on Jason's team. And from there, I actually spent a little time at the NHL League office and then at the MLBPA working on their licensing side for 5 years in New York City. And then I came back to the sunny land of San Diego in 2017, and I have sort of worked my way up and built my team here as, our business has grown. So that's sort of my 2 cent elevator speech in a nutshell.
Elevator speech. I like that. Intern makes good. Reminds me, I came out to Vegas in 2008 just simply as a temporary poker dealer with the World Series of Poker, and I was able to work my way up to a room manager level for nearly a decade. COVID kind of changed that, and I'm on the industry side of the hockey card business as well now. So it's been a fun ride. It's always nice seeing these the stories of someone kind of starting at the ground level and working their way up. So I guess the first thing I want to talk about here is, do you know offhand roughly how many Upper Deck hockey releases happen in a year? I guess that's my first question.
Yeah, no, it varies year to year. Typically I'd say there's between 20 and 30 core releases. Over the years, some brands are sunsetted and some new brands come about. So, I think that's sort of the comfort zone, and obviously market factors and other things come into play. Since COVID, I know you mentioned that, obviously our business has grown. So collectors have seen a couple new releases just with the growth of the overall category, and, new consumers, our dive into PWHL, we're definitely seeing more women collectors. So it's kind of fluid year to year based on certain factors, but that's sort of our comfort zone, sort of 20 to 30. And, you see some smaller and more exclusive releases too, not included in the core releases that may just be on our Upper Deck ePack platform or SP retail that's just in the retail channels. So that's sort of our comfort zone. And, you see some nuances year to year amongst that.
Speaking of sunset, or maybe the sun rising again, thank you for bringing Stature back and not making us wait too long for that. I look forward to that one later in the year. That's a favorite of mine personally. On that subject, how does Upper Deck plan a year's worth of releases? What thought process goes into we're going to do this product on this day, this product on this day? Is it a year over year thing? Is there more to it? How does that all come together?
Yeah, you're talking like a true hobbyist. So no, that's a very good question. And there's a lot of different departments that are in play with the overall calendar. With Stature, for example, it was a very challenging product technology-wise to produce. And so,
Why?
and anytime we tested new technology, there's different nuances that goes into that, right?
What's the technology? I'm gonna come and jump in. How does that? Educate me on that. I'm just really curious because I love the product, so I'm just curious why that one's is a different challenge,
It's
maybe.
like a styrene finish, right? That's where you see sort of that shiny polish, so it's, but it was a unique substrate that we sort of looked at sort of integrating. So, each sort of product or innovation has some nuances to it, but then a lot of our staples sort of you see, that they sort of are reoccurring on a consistent basis. So UD1 the last couple of years has been in the middle of October, and we have UD2 in March. So, those staples, we try to hit a specific sort of window, and, some of the other ones sort of fall in place, as they get completed. And as with sort of our late season products tied to hard sign cards, that's an element of getting the cards back from the athletes, which is another just factor that goes into it. But to get back to your initial question, we do take a lot of pride in feedback from our hobby shops, our distributors, our sort of insiders, and people that have been in the industry a very long time. We have an annual CDD conference with all of our top shops, and we take their feedback as well, things that aren't doing as well, things we can improve on. So it's not one sort of single voice. We really look at our internal stakeholders as well as our external stakeholders to build a calendar that we're proud of, and make sure we make changes and adjustments, that work for everybody. And one that wasn't too long ago was obviously our reconfiguration with our flagship series, UD1, UD2, and Extended. And, that wasn't an easy decision, something that we, reconfigured after, close to 20 years, but one that was very well received, I think, and one that we were proud of. So that's just an example, but it is a very collective voice, when we map out our calendar and when we make adjustments to it.
Introducing, of course, a 101 Young Gun, the Outburst parallels just seemed like a slam dunk, and it's been extremely well received from both sides of the hobby, and seems like something that I don't know how long, like if that's a decision that's tabled and brought back for a decade or 3 or 4 years, or it just kind of came together. I guess on that note, how does that happen? Is that something that just kind of quickly comes together? Hey, someone's got an idea, brings it to the table, or was that in the works for years and years?
No, part of that internal stakeholders, we got a very competent design team, and same with our product team. So, one of the core tenets of Upper Deck, has been our innovation. That's how we sort of, entered into the industry. Everyone talks about the Griffey 89 card and the full bleed images and the thick stock and the shiny image and the shiny finish. As we are always trying to look at new innovations, things we can improve on. And, it's similar. I know I'm saying it's a collective voice, but, our design team and product team are always looking for new things to bring to the market. And obviously the Outburst was one of those that really caught the market's eye, but that's something that we do on a daily basis here at Upper Deck, and my team on the brand side. We all kind of chip in on that, on things that we can bring to the team and innovations as well.
EX2000 comes out on the heels of UD2 and before the, I think, early entry for the release of the year in Premiere. EX2000, something that was really in the making for nearly 3 decades. Speak to the timing of EX2000's release, and I guess just your overall perception on the final product.
Yeah, and I obviously I'm a big fan of history, and we launched EX with the other core sports back in 2000, so it was in due time to bring it to the hockey side, and we've obviously seen some success with our Fleer Ultra. Obviously, Skybox is a staple we brought back to hockey a few years ago, so it just seemed like a natural, sort of iconic set to bring to hockey. And We talked about technology. That is a very unique set. Those base cards are some of the most beautiful base cards you're going to see. And, there's a lot of things that go into bringing that to life. I thought it turned out really good. I thought the inserts were quite unique with a lot of those unique die cuts. And I think that this is a product that's going to age really well as well. So it was a blast to open. I know, with any sort of iconic brand, and especially one that means so much to the history of the hobby, you're going to have a lot of influential voices on both sides of it. And we definitely heard some feedback, but it was a product that we're proud of. And I think you'll see some EX brands in the future on the hockey side.
Ooh, a little nugget there. That's interesting. The Reverberation, I thought that card just came out magnificently. And being on the industry side, what I enjoyed about EX was people coming to me and saying, I've never been in a hockey break before, but I loved EX 2000 from the late 90s. I want to buy some spots. And that was the coolest thing. So I think Upper Deck certainly recaptured some hockey market share, if you will, by bringing that product back to the forefront.
I think you make a good point. I think hockey is capturing, not just with some of these brands that cross over to different properties, but the game in general has had a huge lift this year. And I'm Canadian, so I'm loyal to, obviously, Team Canada. My kids are American, so they're loyal to Team USA.
It's a tough household a few weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. But the growth of the game across, all metrics is growing. And not only in new U.S. markets, but in U.S. in general. The U.S. national team has been doing really well. Obviously, we saw the Four Nations. But even the Connor Bedard craze of last year and the success of Celebrini and Will Smith this year, is, I think, the game in general and hockey card collecting has been growing, organically with the growth of the game the last few years. And, we're seeing that crossover, I think across the hobby in general, which is great to see.
For sure. I mean, I'm in Vegas, so I've experienced the growth. I'm originally from the Chicagoland area, so I knew what it was like following an original six team with deep roots in a market, and then coming to Vegas and watching a team born from the dust. Literally, we're in the desert, a lot of dust, born from the dust. And of course, there's a lot of emotion watching the growth of Vegas and what happened in the beginning. But it's very interesting to see both sides of how it is being in an original six city versus being here in Vegas, watching something brand new. Back to the card side of this, products like Premier, the Cup, Allure, Metal Universe, OPC, there's major differences for each of those products. How does that influence the developmental process of each of the products?
Yeah, I think it's just the level of elements and complexity, right? That's really that sort of you see the differentiators. Obviously, with Premier, you have a lot of the oversized patch cards, the rookie or the acetate rookie auto patch, so just getting all of those materials, a lot of that material, at least on the veteran side, is game used. It takes time and it takes process to cut them in. Our operation team takes a lot of pride in cutting the best pieces and making, the most sort of eye-catching patch cards. So just the level of complexity, can dictate sort of where it comes out in the schedule. And then like OPG, we used to have that earlier on in the season, and sort of we switched that one around. You don't get a lot of the autographs and memorabilia cards, but you do get a very comprehensive base set. It's 600. I think it's our deepest one on our hobby release calendar. And so, that's just a whole nother element, because you got to have 600 unique subjects, 600 unique bio text on the back, 600 unique images. So each product has its little nuances, but we are very strategic on sort of how we release it. And then obviously earlier on in the calendar, when you get to MVP and artifacts, just in in an effort to get those out sort of before the season or close to, we have to put in some redemption cards for some of the rookies and some of the chase cards, just because they haven't skated yet. So, each sort of release is strategically placed based on decisions and complexities along the way.
I'm asked a lot of times, I haven't bought a hockey, pack or a box in decades. What should I start with? And I always point people to OPG. OPG, like you said, the checklist number one, I think that's a huge driver. And I think it's also important to understand the unique chase cards of the product, the blank back 101s, of course, all the short prints and everything. I think some of those patch parallels are absolutely remarkable. The heritage patch of course, Oilers and Flame, just remarkable card. I can go on and on about how much I love OPG and why that should be a product that people really give a good chance to. I think I'm about 10 cases deeper now. So it's amazing.
I think that brand name's over 100 years old, which is quite unique. So, similar to, you mentioned the blank backs, I know there's usually a lot of what our product team would coin Easter eggs.
Yep.
Is we do take a lot of pride in offering some unique, chase elements. And, I think that they continually, push the envelope and create some unique chase elements in OPG every year. And to your point, I think it's a really cool rip. It's got a vintage look, clay coat on some cards. And, I think it's just a cool product. And we inserted new skating rookies a few years ago. And I think that, that has also sort of elevated the brand the last few years.
As far as the rookie class, Hudson, Celebrini, Will Smith, and what they bring, how does the rookie class influence inserts? Are you looking at a player like Celebrini, and is there something that comes to mind when you just throw an insert in? Like how do the current rookies influence the sets?
Well, they influence the success too on the secondary market. I think we've been blessed, and I'm going to be a homer here, but obviously Connor Bedard and Macklin are both from my hometown, so must be something in the water in Vancouver. But I think we've been blessed too. With the growth of the NHL, the game's gotten younger. The speed's gotten faster. The level of skill has improved. And these players are coming in and having a direct impact on the team, where some of the other leagues, it can be a few years, before they really, make the opening day roster or, make an impact on the football field. And so we've been blessed. They've been having an immediate impact. So I think that that's another testament to the league and the Players Association and the overall growth of the game. But I can tell you, obviously, getting those key rookies into, the key inserts, whether it's the Young Guns forms or the rookie auto patch forms, that's where the big driver is. The Diamond Relic rookies in Black Diamond is obviously a key chase, rookie card for Black Diamond. We do our best. We definitely, with our early season releases, we got to take a little bit of guess. No one knows how the season's going to go and how these players are going to perform. And I think that that's one of the sort of nuances that collectors don't understand, is that it can take a year to 18 months to build a product based on the complexity. And, we are picking these checklists well before, the players, hit the ice. So, we take a lot of pride in sort of our prospecting and doing that. But, we also have a little bit of luck in terms of how they perform on the ice once they get here.
Using a product like Allure as an example, what's the decision process? Connor Bedard, 23-24 Allure, full complement of hits across the product, whereas Celebrini is an extended series rookie in 24-25 Allure, a little more limited on the amount of his types of cards you can pull. Why the difference, and how does that decision play out within Upper Deck?
Yeah, you're really getting into the details. I like that. I think, and I don't obviously have the specific release date of where 23, 24 ended up, but I'm pretty sure that it was a little bit later than where the current year 24, 25 released. So I think it was just based on timing, to be honest. And everyone knows it's a chromium product, which is a little bit longer on the production time. So I think that that's merely where sort of the differences lied, is where those two products released year over year. And my gut's telling me that 24, 25 probably beat it by 5 or 6 months.
Fair enough. As far as the evolution of various sets and products, is there one set that just stands out to you like, wow, I can't believe where this set is now versus the first run of it, however long ago it came out?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say OP cheese on there for me. I think it was always one, to your point, Chris, just given the heritage of the brand and how long it's been around, and the heritage within hockey with obviously the Gretzky rookie. And when I came here came back in 2018, that was a product that I felt wasn't getting the love that the brand deserved. And so then we shifted it to have some new skating rookies. It's a little bit later on in the calendar, and we're really starting to see some demand pick up for that product. And I know it's a tough set to complete, and it's one that typically, appeals more to the true hobbyist, but I think that that's an example of seeing where it is and then where it's come. And I think the flagship is another one. Obviously that is a core product and one that, has had, a lot of success over the years, but even making a strategic adjustment, to have sort of a bigger pack, less packs per box, but seeing some growth with extended too. And, we had some key rookies held back last year with Fantilli and I think Cooley, and Will Smith will be in extended this year. And we continue to surprise collectors in that flagship with some, good Easter egg content, right? We did obviously the SP Bedard in Series 1 a couple years ago. We brought back the retro Outburst Young Guns this year. And I think you'll continue to see some cool Easter eggs in that brand.
You mentioned the Bedard Easter egg in Series 1. It took me 100 and I think 8 boxes to hit that card. That took a while. That was a tough one, but we finally.
That's a rare card.
We found one. No, it is very rare. It is very rare. I feel like my pack threshold was a little worse than some of my counterparts in the hobby, but it's a rare card, and it's a good debate if that's for someone who's on the collecting side. Would you rather have that card in a PSA 10 or hold on to a couple of Bedard PSA 10 Young Guns? And I think that's part of what does make the excitement of Upper Deck and the Easter eggs fun to kind of go after.
Yeah, that's something we take pride on. As a, if you looked at our sales team, I think they'd probably say knowing a few of those little Easter eggs ahead of time would help for pre-sales. But I think, it also helps for excitement, and that's what collecting is all about. That's something that we take pride on, is, enjoying the rip, and having some surprises. And, I think that that's something that we continue to do in our products.
For sure. And I think there's obviously a healthy balance between the business side. I mean, obviously you got to sell your product, and also the excitement of, wait a minute, the first person to find this on a stream somewhere, that's a big moment that gets tons of social impressions. And I think it can also help the business side as well. Shifting gears a little bit here, we've had a lot of recent releases, and we have a new release coming next week in SPX. Talk to me about the changes of SPX. We're going, of course, from a 6-card per box product with an auto on average, of course, to kind of closer to the synergy layout as far as 8 packs, 3 cards per box. How does that process go, and what excites you most about that change?
Yeah, I think honestly, and SPX has gone through, similar to Ice and some of our other brands, where we get some feedback from our sort of stakeholders of things. It's definitely a heritage brand, and we feel like the brand has legs, but it just hasn't had sort of the right config, and it's had some unique configs along the way, to be honest. So, and then another part is, anytime you sort of test in some new card concepts, whether it's Stature or Splendor or new brands that we brought in, is trying to sort of make it work on the financial side. So I think it's going to be a better rip now that it's more cards per pack, similar to, because I know at one point it was one card per pack. And
that was a little tedious. I'm not going to lie.
yeah, it's a little tedious, but also, we've instituted some new hologram cards that are going to be, I think, really cool. And, the challenge is when you do put a new technology or a new design that's going to be in, this product is you don't really see it until it hits the market. Right. And that's the thing, a solicitation, an image on a couple images on a solicitation or a PowerPoint. It's really hard to do it justice. I think these holograms are going to be really well received, and they're really cool cards. And I think you're going to continue to see innovation and innovative elements within this brand, as we try to and continue to elevate it.
I'm going to test your poker face here. I noticed Obsidian and Black and all that kind of quietly exited from SPX. Obviously, there was Upper Deck Black a while back. Something to look forward to, maybe perhaps in the future.
Yeah, it's funny. That's one that does come up quite a bit.
There's a reason for that. It's awesome.
We also hear, and this is a little, insider trading. Like the black sort of stock is also prone to chipping, right? And so we also hear a lot of feedback on, the quality of those cards. But I am with you. I'm a fan of those, and I think that there, is legs there, and I know Synergy is one that, potentially will be sunsetted. But I think that some of these inserts will live on, and some you'll see may return. And I think, Black is one that has legs, and I can tell you, to your point, that there's a lot of strong believers in that brand.
Keep it coming.
But there's also a lot of feedback on the quality too. So we'll see. Like I said, I am an advocate for that brand, so I'll do my best.
Premier, if the calendar ended right now, Premier is the release of the year. It's flying off shelves. It's easy to sell break spots. Magnificent product. Price is going up, which is a good thing, obviously, because that means there's a demand for it. What's your impression of the Premier release 23-24?
Yeah, I think just to your point, it's really the home of the mega patch, and then the box delivery is really good. I believe, and don't quote me on this because, obviously I have my team is doing the actual day-to-day on the product requirements, but I believe you get 2 autos per box and a rookie, including a rookie auto patch, and then a couple mem cards, so overall, I think the cards look great. The acetate rookie auto patch and the auto patch have a clear identity within the product, and then you get all the mega patches, and those are just beautiful swatches. That's credit to our operations team. It's not just about, cutting up the patch and the crest and the shoulder logos and all the unique logos and just placing them. They on those mega patches, they're cutting it out to spec to showcase the best swatch within that patch, give it its prominence it deserves, and cut it to size to perfection. So they take a lot of pride in making those patch cards look beautiful. And I think that's the result that we're both seeing. I think the 22-23 Premier product did really well too. So I think we're on to something with that one.
Yeah. The Upper Deck's doing okay with Premier, to say the least. The commemorative logos, I think, on the mega patches, those just, for me, steal the show. Every time you see one of those, it just stops you. It just stops you in your tracks. It's amazing.
Well, and the cool part, with Celebrini and Will Smith obviously headlining 2 of the top rookies, there are some cool patch cards that we can do given their teammates and some of the unique elements with them. So I know we have a lot of, being in Southern California, we do have a lot of Sharks fans here. So That's been cool to see too, just having two rookie stars on the same team.
Yeah, the 24-25 Premier Patchtacular Will Smith Celebrini will probably be a pretty highly sought after card, and maybe when Ultimate comes out, some dual shields and things like that. All right, we got National Hockey Card Day coming up in a couple of days. That's going to be today's Thursday, Saturday, April 5th. I had to check my calendar for a second there.
Yeah.
So can you tell us exactly what National Hockey Card Day is and why Upper Deck developed it?
Yeah, it's really just to, at the core of what collecting is all about. And we're big supporters of our hobby stores. And, I think it's just to really, appreciate what the hobby's all about. You can go into a participating store and get a free pack of cards and, just enjoy that part of collecting. It's really about the community. And, obviously for the young collectors, they get excited finding their favorite player. But I think at the core of it, it's just to bring people together. I think we've done it now in April, the last couple of years. I think it's sort of found a good home at this timeline as the season's winding down. And, we sprinkle a little bit of everything in this product. You'll see, current superstars, you'll see the rookies, the top rookies that you alluded to, and even some legends. So we really like to show support for all of our partners and really, get a diverse checklist together with some cool chase elements too.
How is Upper Deck positioning itself among the youth collectors as far as getting eyes on the products?
Well, that's a good point. I think obviously our promotions were very, involved with key collecting shows throughout the calendar. For your Canadian viewers, obviously the Fall and Spring Expos in Toronto, and then obviously the National, that it sort of is the three cities in Chicago, Cleveland, and Atlantic City. We're always relevant there, but we do a lot of promotions throughout as well. Trick or Trade's been one we've done locally in Carlsbad here for first responders and just the general sort of local collectors. I know during COVID, some of those went away, but we are in process of bringing them back. We do historical inspirations with obviously a lot of young inspirational kids and collectors along the way. We obviously connect via our social channels. Ben Steitler was one who was a collector and a big Edmonton Oilers fan. He had a debilitating sort of condition and, passed not too long ago, which is obviously very sad, but throughout sort of his time, and his involvement with the Oilers, we really supported him and, because he appreciated the hobby. So it's more of a full-time gig here at Upper Deck. And, whether it shows, social media, just general reach out and support, we do what we can. Because we know it brings a lot of joy to a lot of people, and especially, for the young collectors who's just looking to connect to their favorite player. And, that's something that we also take a lot of pride in.
Last question. What does Upper Deck do to gain interest of someone who doesn't watch hockey, never even ripped a pack of hockey cards? How can Upper Deck reach that person, and what can they do?
Well, obviously upperdeck.com. Go check out our website. I think to your point, and this was a good lead in, National Hockey Card Day is a great way. It's no purchase necessary. I know that you can chase a couple key insert cards with a gift with purchase, but at the core of it, you can go get a free pack of Upper Deck cards at a participating store. The store list is posted on our website, Upper Deck. I got it written down here, upperdeck.com/NHCD. So you can see the store locator, of a store close to you, as well as the checklist. It's a great way. But I think looking obviously, and the other part is we do have sort of our CDD, our certified diamond dealer stores, which is also listed on our website. That's a great way to get introduced to the hobby. All of those stores are leaders within the industry. They do a lot of promotions and activations, and they all house Upper Deck trading cards. So that would be another avenue to check out, and that's really where at the core where the community aspect starts.
For sure. Here in Vegas, you can visit the Awesome Card Shop on West Sahara or Legacy Card Shop that's going to be on the corner of Fort Apache and Flamingo. Paul, just want to thank you for your time. This was certainly great, getting some knowledge, getting some insider knowledge, talking about National Hockey Card Day, and maybe we can make this a semi-regular thing around release days and stuff.
Chris, I appreciate your time, your support, and for all the hockey card and Upper Deck collectors out there, enjoy National Hockey Card Day.
For myself, Chris Golick with the Hockey News, and Paul Zickler from Upper Deck, I want to thank you for tuning in.